All right, you sick fucks, ready to dive into some seriously fucked up shit.
Yeah.
Imagine this. You're all decked out in your Eras Tour shit, ready to lose your voice, screaming along with a stadium full of Swifties, and then, bam, concert's canceled.
Oh, no.
Not because Taylor's lost her voice or something,
Right.
but because some dipshit wannabe terrorists thought it would be a good idea to crash the party.
Ugh.
Vienna, this past August, Swiftie heaven almost turned into a goddamn bloodbath.
Yeah, what the fuck?
We've got intel reports, news articles, the whole 9 yards, so let's cut the crap and get right into this clusterfuck.
It was a close call, no doubt. We're not talking about some lone wolf with a pipe bomb here. This was a coordinated plot by a group of radicalized teenagers tied to ISIS aiming to inflict as much carnage as possible.
Okay, so let's break down this shitstorm. How the hell did these assholes even get on the radar?
It all started with a seemingly minor arrest. The day before the first concert, Austrian police picked up a 19-year-old suspect. Initially, they downplayed the whole thing, assuring the public that the show would go on with beefed-up security. But, sometimes you gotta play it cool to avoid a full-blown panic.
Yeah, but that obviously wasn't the end of it. What flipped the script and turned this into a full-blown shit show.
Well, later that same day, they nabbed a second suspect, and get this, he was a 17-year-old security guard hired for the event.
Oh, no way.
I mean, talk about a wolf in sheep's clothing. Then came the bombshell, bomb-making materials, weapons, a shit ton of ISIS propaganda. This wasn't just some teenage angst gone wrong. This was a well-planned attack waiting to happen.
Holy shit. So basically, one of the guys hired to protect the concert goers was in on a whole fucking thing. That's some next level messed up.
Exactly, and it gets even worse. Turns out they later arrested an 18-year-old Iraqi refugee as a third suspect. The investigation is still ongoing, but it's pretty clear these guys weren't lone wolves. They were part of a larger network, and who knows how deep that rabbit hole goes.
Fuck, that's scary. So what was the plan? Were they going to storm the stage during?
Yeah.
Shake it off and start blasting?
Actually, their plan was far more sinister. They were going to drive a car loaded with explosives straight into the crowd, detonate the bombs, and then attack with knives and machetes. Imagine that chaos. The absolute carnage they were hoping to unleash it sends chills down your spine, doesn't it? The main suspect even confessed to wanting to kill as many people as possible.
Jesus Christ, those sick fucks. But thankfully, they didn't pull it off right. Someone tipped off the authorities right. Like a disgruntled ex-girlfriend or something.
Not quite. This is where things get really interesting. It was actually U.S. intelligence who first got wind of this whole operation. They intercepted an oath of allegiance to ISIS, uploaded by the main suspect on Telegram. You know, that encrypted messaging app that all the edgy kids and apparently terrorists love.
Ah, Telegram, the go-to platform for sharing cat memes and plotting global jihad, right? But seriously, how the hell did U.S. intelligence even get access to that shit? Are those messages supposed to be, like, super-duper secret?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But there are ways, my friend. Let's just say the world of intelligence gathering is a lot more slippery than most people realize, and let's be thankful for that, because in this case, it saved lives. The U.S. shared the intel with Europol, that's the European Union's law enforcement agency, and Austrian authorities, who then swooped in and arrested the suspects before they could carry out their plan.
So a bunch of spooks in dark rooms, sifting through mountains of data, managed to stop a fucking terrorist attack. That's some Hollywood shit right there. But it also makes you wonder if these kids were radicalized online. How many others are out there lurking in the shadows of the internet, cooking up their own brand of crazy? That's the real mindfuck here.
That's the million-dollar question, and honestly, it's a chilling one. This whole incident has ignited a firestorm of debate about online radicalization and how the hell we're supposed to combat this shit. I mean, you can't just shut down the internet, can you? And even if you could, these fuckers would just find another way.
Yeah, whack-a-mole with ideologies, right? You smash one platform,
Yeah.
another one pops up. So where the hell do we go from here? What are the next steps in this twisted game?
That's the question that keeps security experts, intelligence agencies, and probably even Taylor Swift herself up at night. This Vienna plot was a wake-up call, a stark reminder that the battle against extremism has moved online. And trust me, the front lines are a lot more complicated than most people realize.
Okay, so we've got a foiled terrorist attack, teenage jihadis, international espionage, and a whole lot of unanswered questions. That is some heavy shit even for us. But before we dive into the murky depths of online radicalization and all that jazz, let's take a minute to talk about the poor Swifties who got caught in the crossfire of this whole mess. I mean, can you imagine the disappointment? Spending thousands on tickets, flights, hotels, all to have your dreams of screaming along to Love Story crushed by some wannabe terrorists.
You're absolutely right. It's easy to get lost in the geopolitical implications of this whole thing. But let's not forget the human cost, thousands of fans. many of whom had traveled from all over the world, were absolutely devastated. I mean, talk about a buzzkill.
Yeah, that's going to be a soul-crushing level of disappointment, but
Yeah.
hey, maybe they can at least get a refund on their best day. Taylor's
Yes.
version. T-shirts, right? Speaking of which, how did Taylor herself react to all of this? Did she release a statement, donate to a terrorism prevention charity, or, I don't know, write a song about it?
You know, Taylor Swift is notoriously private, and her response to this whole situation was actually quite surprising. She decided to remain completely silent, no press releases, no social media posts, nothing.
Really? That's kind of unexpected. Why the radio silence,
Yeah.
you think? Was she just too shook up to even process it all?
Well, there are a few possible explanations first, and probably most importantly, she wanted to protect her fans by remaining silent. She avoided drawing further attention to the situation, which could have inadvertently put her fans at risk. She also likely didn't want to give these assholes the satisfaction of knowing they'd rattled her.
Yeah, that makes sense. Don't give the terrorists the PR they crave. But still, it's got to be a mindfuck knowing that you're a potential target for these kinds of attacks. I mean, how do you even begin to wrap your head around that?
It's a sobering reality for anyone in the public eye, especially someone as globally famous as Taylor Swift. It's a stark reminder that fame comes with a price, and sometimes that price is the loss of your sense of security. But, the way I see it, her silence speaks volumes. It's a testament to her strength and resilience, her refusal to let fear dictate her actions.
Okay, I can dig that. So we've got thwarted terrorists, heartbroken Swifties, a silent but strong Taylor, and a whole lot of unsettling questions about the online world we live in. This deep dive is already a goddamn roller coaster, and we're just getting started. Stay tuned, folks, because shit's about to get real.
You know, the whole Vienna situation, it's like a glimpse into the nightmare scenario that keeps intelligence agencies up at night. It's a new breed of terrorism fueled by online echo chambers and encrypted comms.
So it's like fighting ghosts, right? These assholes aren't meeting in smoky backrooms anymore.
Right.
They're radicalizing each other on platforms we barely even understand.
Exactly. And it's not just ISIS either. We're seeing extremist groups of all stripes using the internet to recruit and spread their bullshit. It's like a global flea market of hate, all just a click away.
So how do you even begin to fight that? It's not like you can just shut down the internet, right?
No, shutting down the internet isn't an option, and honestly, it wouldn't even address the root of the problem. We need to understand what drives young people to these groups in the first place, what makes them vulnerable to this kind of toxic ideology.
So are we talking about a bunch of angsty teenagers who just need a hug and a therapist?
It's more complicated than that. It's a perfect storm of factors: social isolation,
Yeah.
economic hardship, alienation, lack of opportunity. These groups offer a twisted sense of belonging purpose, even a sense of power. It's a seductive cocktail, especially for someone who feels lost and disillusioned.
So it's like joining a gang but with a side of global jihad.
In a way, yes, and don't underestimate the power of their propaganda. These groups are masters of manipulation. They twist facts, fuel hatred, and promise a glorious future under their fucked up ideology. It's brainwashing, pure and simple.
So what's the antidote? More therapy, better parenting, mandatory critical thinking classes in school.
All of that can help, but we also need to fight fire with fire. We need to counter their narrative, offer alternative sources of information, and empower young people to resist their bullshit.
So basically, we need a global PR campaign for sanity.
Something like that. We need to expose their lies, debunk their myths, and offer a more compelling vision of the future.
Okay, but how do you even begin to do that? The internet is a vast and chaotic place. It's like trying to herd cats.
It's a massive challenge, no doubt, but there are things you can support organizations that are working to counter extremist propaganda online. We can educate ourselves and our communities about the dangers of online radicalization, and we can all be more mindful of the information we consume and share online.
So like a digital detox for the soul.
In a way, yes, we need to be more discerning about what we click on, what we believe, and what we share.
Okay, that makes sense. But let's not forget, this Vienna plot wasn't an isolated incident. Europe has been grappling with Islamic terrorism for years now.
Absolutely remember the Vienna attack back in 2020. And just days before this foiled plot, there was that horrifying mass stabbing in Southport, England. Some guy went on a rampage at a Taylor Swift-themed workshop for kids, stabbing multiple people.
What the fuck? Another Taylor Swift connection. Is she like cursed or something?
It's certainly a disturbing coincidence, and while authorities haven't officially linked the two events, it's hard to ignore the similarities. Both involved young men seemingly radicalized online, targeting innocent people. It's a stark reminder that this shit can happen anywhere, anytime.
So basically, we're all living in a powder keg just waiting for the next spark. That's some cheerful shit right there.
It's not a happy thought, but it's the reality we live in. The threat of online radicalization is global, and it's only going to grow as technology advances and these groups become more sophisticated.
So what's the prognosis, Doc? Are we all fucked?
Not necessarily. I mean, look at how this Vienna plot was foiled. It shows that intelligence sharing and international cooperation can work. And we also saw incredible resilience from the Swifties and the Viennese community. They didn't let fear paralyze them. They came together, sang their hearts out, and showed the world that they wouldn't be cowed by terrorism.
Okay, so maybe there's a glimmer of hope in all this darkness.
There is, but we can't afford to be complacent. We need to be vigilant, informed, and proactive in countering extremist ideologies both online and offline. This isn't a spectator sport. We all have a role to play.
Okay, so what can we do? Give me some action items here.
First, educate yourself. Learn about the signs of online radicalization and how to spot extremist propaganda. Talk to your friends and family about it. Share reliable information support organizations that are working to counter this threat.
Right, so knowledge is power. What else?
Be mindful of your own online behavior. Don't get sucked into echo chambers. Challenge your own biases. Think critically about the information you consume and share. And if you see something, say something. Report extremist content to the platform or to the authorities.
Okay, so be vigilant, be informed, and don't be afraid to speak up.
Yeah.
Got it. But let's get back to Taylor Swift for a minute. This whole thing must have had a huge impact on her tour, right? Did she turn into a security freak?
Oh, absolutely. Security measures went through the roof for the rest of the tour, especially for the final European shows in London. It was like a fortress, increased security checks, bag searches, police, and canine units everywhere. You couldn't even sneeze without a security guard eyeing you suspiciously.
So much for sneaking in a flask of tequila. But hey, safety first, right?
Exactly. And the fans understood. They wanted to see Taylor, and they were willing to put up with a little inconvenience to make sure everyone stayed safe.
Good for them. And what about Taylor herself? Did she change her approach to touring after all this? Did she hire a personal army of ninjas or something?
Well, she's notoriously private, but you can bet this whole experience shook her up. Weeks later, she finally addressed the plot in an interview, saying she was devastated by the cancellations and filled with fear. Imagine being in her shoes, knowing that there are people out there who want to hurt you and your fans. It's a terrifying thought.
Yeah, it's got to fuck with your head.
Absolutely, but she also made a point of thanking the authorities for foiling the plot, and you know what? She kept touring, she didn't let fear paralyze her, she kept doing what she loved, and she kept connecting with her fans. That takes guts.
Okay, so maybe there's a lesson in there for all of us. Don't let the bastards grind you down, right?
Exactly. We can't let fear dictate our lives. We need to keep living, keep loving, keep connecting, but we also need to be aware of the threats, be prepared to fight back, and never ever take our freedom for granted.
Damn, that's some deep shit, man.
So we've got thwarted terrorism, resilient, Swifties, a badass pop star, and a whole lot of food for thought about the online world we live in. This deep dive has been a wild ride. And we're not done yet. Stick around, folks, because we're about to unpack the biggest question of all. What the fuck do we do about online radicalization? All right, so we've talked about the Vienna plot, the rise of online radicalization, and the impact on Taylor Swift's tour. But let's cut to the chase. What the hell do we do about this shit? Is there any way to stop these assholes before they strike? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And unfortunately, there's no easy answer.
Right.
It's a complex problem that requires a multifaceted approach. We need governments, tech companies, law enforcement, and even everyday citizens working together.
Everyone.
It's a global issue that demands a global response.
Okay, so what's the plan? Do we give everyone a crash course in online safety?
Ooh.
Ban Telegram and all those other shady platforms? Start monitoring everyone's browsing history?
You know, those ideas have been tossed around, but they all come with their own set of problems. Banning one platform just pushes extremists to another, and mass surveillance raises some serious ethical and privacy concerns. It's a slippery slope, my friend.
So what's the solution? More education. Like mandatory classes in school about how to spot online bullshit.
Education is definitely a key part of it. We need to teach young people how to critically evaluate information online, how to spot fake news and propaganda, and how to resist the lure of extremist groups. It's about equipping them with the tools to navigate the digital world safely and responsibly.
Right, so we got to arm these kids with bullshit detectors. But what about the adults? Let's be real. There are plenty of grown-ass people falling down those conspiracy theory rabbit holes on YouTube.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Adults are susceptible to online radicalization, too. We all need to be more aware of the dangers of online echo chambers and the ways in which algorithms can reinforce our existing biases. It's easy to get caught in a filter bubble where you're only exposed to information that confirms your worldview.
So it's like a digital detox for the mind. We
Right.
all need to step back and question our own goddamn beliefs.
Exactly. We need to be more conscious of the information we consume online and the potential impact it can have on our thinking. We need to cultivate healthy skepticism, seek out diverse perspectives, and be willing to challenge our own assumptions.
Okay, that's all well and good, but how the hell do you get people to actually do that? It's so easy to just click on the next outrageous headline or get sucked into a heated debate on Twitter.
You're right, it's a tough challenge, but I think it starts with fostering a culture of critical thinking and healthy debate. We need to encourage people to question their assumptions, seek out diverse perspectives, and be more discerning consumers of information. And we need to do this in a way that's engaging and accessible, not preachy or condescending.
So, like a global TED Talk on how to not be a fucking idiot online.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But it also requires systemic change. We need social media platforms to take more responsibility for the content they host. They need to be more proactive in identifying and removing extremist content, and they need to work to prevent the spread of misinformation and disinformation.
Right, so less cat videos and more responsibility. Got it. But what about the immediate threat? Are there any steps we can take to prevent another Vienna situation from happening?
Well, intelligence agencies are constantly working to track and disrupt terrorist activities online. They're using sophisticated surveillance techniques, collaborating with tech companies to monitor extremist content, and even infiltrating online communities. It's a high-stakes game of cat and mouse.
Sounds like some real spy shit.
It is, and it's a constant battle. These groups are always adapting, finding new ways to communicate and evade detection.
So it's like an arms race, but in the digital realm.
Exactly. And it's a race we can't afford to lose. The stakes are too high.
Okay, so we've got education intelligence gathering and social media reform. Anything else we can throw at this problem?
One more thing, and it's perhaps the most important of all, addressing the underlying social and economic conditions that make people vulnerable to extremist ideologies.
Okay.
We need to create more inclusive societies, provide opportunities for young people, and address the root causes of alienation and resentment.
So basically, if we want to fight terrorism, we need to build a better world.
Precisely. It's a long-term project, but it's the only way to truly defeat this threat. We need to create a world where people feel valued, respected, and empowered, a world where they have a stake in society and a reason to hope for the future.
And that's some heavy shit. So this isn't just about stopping terrorists. It's about building a better future for everyone.
Exactly. It's about creating a world where extremism has no fertile ground to take root.
Well, on that note, I think we've done enough deep diving for one day. This has been a wild ride, and honestly, it's left me feeling a little bit shaken, but hey, at least we're informed, right?
Knowledge is power, my friend, and the more we understand about the threats we face, the better equipped we are to fight back.
Right on. So to all you beautiful bastards listening out there, stay vigilant, stay informed, and don't be afraid to challenge the bullshit. And hey, if you're ever feeling overwhelmed by all this doom and gloom, just remember Taylor Swift is out there kicking ass and taking names. If she can face down terrorists and keep making music, we can all find a way to make a difference. Peace out.